That's true. This is a part of it. As a matter of fact, there's a federal subsidy on milk of 3 cents, and if we lose this, the price of milk will have to go up, and this is a part of our problem.
While we're on the topic of tonight's meeting, what about the school lunch program? I understand you're thinking of raising the prices of school lunches.
That's true. Actually, there were only, at the current time, we are selling plate lunch. Last year, we sold plate lunches at a lower price than any of the 20 largest school districts in the state. We were nickel under everybody else. As a matter of fact, we were dime under most of them. For instance, well, I won't use any specific towns because I don't want to name it, because most of them are very local here. But if we go to the 35 and 40 cents, there will only be 3 cities of the 20 largest cities will have as low a price as we have, and all the rest of them are higher.
She left somewhere around 2:30.
Where was she going then, you know?
She was going over to a friend's house,
How
to
far?
a friend's apartment.
How
It
far
was
away
across the street from the apartment where the party was held.
Would she logically have had reason to get in her car to go across the street, do you think?
Well, it wasn't necessary at all. Of course, she could have.
Had she planned to spend the night in Dallas? She had called home and said she was going to.
As far as we knew, when she left, she was going to this other apartment. This was what she had discussed, you know, all
In
through
fact, that
the night.
was the very last thing she said to us
Yeah.
when we left.
Was that she was staying in Dallas?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we would hope the general reaction would be favorable. Of course, it depends on where the teacher's going to fall on the salary scale as to whether they're going to be very pleased or mildly pleased or displeased.
What is your general reaction to the work that the board put in on the budget?
Oh, I think the board has worked very hard on the budget, and they spent a great amount of hours, and they have considered every aspect of the budget, and they have done what they consider to be the best thing. Even though we may disagree with the amount of money that they have appropriated for our salary, we still have to concede that they have worked hard for this budget.
Overrides the president's veto, then we'd have to go back to the drawing board and determine how we would spend the additional funds that we have not anticipated and have not budgeted.
How much trouble would this be?
Conversation with her.
Well, we were on the patio talking, and I think we were talking about the fact, or I mentioned just before we left, how we'd missed having her as a fourth hand for bridge several times, and she smiled and said that she would be glad to get back so that we could play bridge. We all enjoyed that a lot, and played about once a week during the school year.
Does what has happened scare you?
The thing that frightens me is the fact that some person or persons who has done this is still walking around.
And they were prepared to take similar action, and we certainly would be involved if it was required to renegotiate and to take other tactics to bring about a settlement.
Department had to come out and put out a grass fire just across the highway here. Are you having a lot of that problem?
Well, we're having probably about an average summer on grass fires. We have quite a few grass fires in the Louisville area every summer.
Thank you very much. Tommy Feaster, who's Mayor Pro Tem of the city of Louisville. They're going to have a bond issue probably Monday. They'll set the election date. It's $7.5 million, and with that, they want to build a water treatment plant, a new sewage treatment plant, make arrangements to get raw water from Dallas, and many other improvements. Whether it will pass or not, Only Election Day will tell, but the city fathers are certainly hopeful that it will. This is Jim Mitchell, Channel 8 News on the Move in Louisville.
The crowd here at SMU is gathered to watch a very unusual car leave. The car looks like a 1970 blue Mustang, but inside it's very different. A number of techniques have been used to cut down on the pollution of the air emitted by the car. And it's part of SMU's entry in the 1970 Intercollegiate Clean Air Car Race, which will run this month from Boston to California. SMU's faculty advisor for this car is Dr. Carlos Kuhn. I asked him what makes the car different, what makes it cut down on pollution.
Primary feature is the conversion to propane or LP gas carburation, and then in addition to that we've added several other controls on the ignition and the exhaust and intake manifolds that enhance its pollution suppression abilities.
Are these techniques that are going to be used commercially? Can we look for a car on the market in a couple of years with these?
I think perhaps unless a big decision is made to turn away from the internal combustion engine that several of these techniques will be used. Some of them are being used now to some extent. Others are being considered by the big companies for future use.
SMU students are joining with college students, drivers from all across the nation from 57 different colleges to try to cut down on the pollution on our nation's highways. Phil Reynolds, Channel 8 News on the Move at SMU.
The NAACP stands ready to take whatever action is deemed necessary if we are asked by the present parties involved, or if it becomes necessary that we do it ourselves. I'd like to point out that our branches here in Dallas had already begun collecting data on the Safeway stores. One of the first notations was that the stores were very filthy in the predominantly black communities.
Well, you'd cut out the entire thing. For instance, the federally impacted area, which in Fort Worth amounts to about $1,400,000, that's 10 cents on the tax rate would have to go up, which we can't get. All of the preschool programs, all of the bilingual programs, the program for the kindergartens that are federally supported, the visiting teachers, the Head Start program in the summertime, all of the special programs which have been designed to help the people who are culturally and financially handicapped would be cut out.
She was a very, very nice person. She was so easy to get along with. She looked for the good things in everyone and enjoyed everybody. She wasn't like many girls who are at times critical of other people. She just seemed to enjoy life a great deal and really enjoyed people and children alike.
Well, as of today, I think that we're in good shape on water as far as right today is concerned, with the continued help of the people on not watering and saving water in every way possible. I think that probably we can get through this okay.
We don't know what effect this will have until, of course, the Congress acts. If the Congress does not override the veto and the initial request of the President is approved, it would not affect our budget whatsoever, because our budget for 70-71 is based on the President's request. If the Congress overrides the veto and gives the President another $1 billion, that would mean an additional $500,000 to $700,000 for our school district that has not been budgeted. them at all. What we have done, of course, is to budget very conservatively on these funds, with the possibility that additional funds would be forthcoming, as they usually are. We have a number of projects that are ready to submit for approval to the state agency if additional funds become available.
Very good, thank you. I appreciate it. Okay.
This is a turnkey 3 community in South Oak Cliff. It has houses, but it doesn't have any people. Part of the problem is that though turnkey was designed to be a housing program for families of moderate income, the classification of families that turnkey wants to move in here is high. Therefore, people who get houses like this are carefully screened. Mr. Tom Jones is the developmental director of the Turnkey 3 housing program here in South Dallas. Mr. Jones, what does it take to move into one of these houses?
Well, first of all, it would take the family composition and an income not less than $3,100 nor more than $6,000.
How come you don't have enough people living in the homes here?
Well, right now we are faced with the problem that in the 2-parent families that the people are making more money than required for this particular program.
Well, what kind of houses do you have here?
Well, we have 3, 4, and 5 bedroom homes here, and offset we have a 3-bedroom dormitory which is built on the 4-bedroom scale.
Everything is furnished in the kitchen, but
right.
That's all.
Right. Everything is furnished in the kitchen, and the house is equipped with central heat. But if you want air, you have to add air yourself.
About what's the market value of these houses?
The market value will run from $16,000 to $19,000.
Typical of families living in turnkey housing are Mr. and Mrs. Larry Mitchell. Mr. Mitchell, how do you like living in this house?
I love it very much. I think Dallas has always been behind in progress, and I think this is one step forward. They have fine leaders here, and it's a wonderful feeling knowing that a man is making a certain amount of money on the low-income bracket can easily get a home. Actually, moving out here, to me, would seem like a dream. See, we've been living in apartments for as long as I can remember. And then the offer for a home was totally overwhelming.
Why do you think they're having trouble filling up these houses?
Well, just like I say, we have great leaders. They're screening out the best possible people for these homes, which is a fine thing.
We're very serious about the programs that we have to break down barriers to minority group employment, but that has no part of this particular visit. Obviously, that not only in Dallas or in the Southwest region, but throughout the country, we are hopeful for improvements in this area, and we've given a lot of effort and attention to it. I guess it's one of the priority items that we early established in our tenure in the Labor Department.
Do you think Dallas is falling short?
I understand that Dallas has done one of the outstanding jobs, actually, in what is known as the Apprenticeship Outreach Program, done one of the best jobs in the nation.
For South Dallas Fair Park area homeowners, it seems to be one problem right after another these days. Now it's the construction technique for the southbound Interstate 45 just south of the downtown area. It seems this superhighway has been in the planning stages and most recently construction for 5 years. But only in the last few months did the homeowners in this area find out there would be no exit or entrance ramps through the South Dallas area. Today, Mrs. Perry Davis and E.F. Higgins talked with newsmen about the problem.
That it was, we wouldn't have any side road, exit, thing like that.
Were you assuming that there would be until the 27th of May?
We didn't think that they would do us like that.
Jerry, for a number of years there, I know, as you know, the University of Houston sought entrance into the conference. I think right now the administration feels very strongly that if the Southwest Conference would extend an invitation, they certainly probably would receive it favorably, but I doubt seriously if they will there will be any petitioning from our standpoint.
Now, you appear on national television once and then regional once.
Right. We have the Florida State game on Thanksgiving night nationally, and then our Miami of Florida game just after the Arkansas-Texas game on December 6th or 5th, whenever it is.
How much will the athletic department net from those two games?
Well, in the neighborhood of $355,000 is the payoff for your national and regional. It's a very attractive situation.
Do you think that might influence the conference in future years to include the university?
Well, there's no question about that. This puts us on a great deal more competitive basis, and I think that, like anything, if someone doesn't need you, they don't want you. But if it gets to the place where you might add substantially to the financial situation, then I think you become more attractive.
The big question, I guess, is when will Gary Mullins be able to play?
Jerry, there's no question about it. Everyone that I see asks about Mullins, and he's made very fine progress and still has a long way to go. We're hoping to get him in the middle of October. I believe this strongly, that if anyone can do it, he will do it.
Do you have any advice to the University of Texas who might wish to withdraw in future years from the conference and go it independently?
No, I'll tell you what, I think each school has its own separate problems. I think there are advantages and disadvantages to being an independent. I think there are advantages and disadvantages to being in the conference. I think they realize that right now that we are extremely competitive, and I think to maintain their position of dominance, it's imperative that they get together with the University of Houston. That is, in the minds of all the sports people.
Starting this year, there will be one teacher aide for every 15 regular classroom teachers in the state, and one aide for every 3 special education teachers. The job of teacher aide has, up until now, been mostly a clerical one, that of grading papers, supervising play periods, and the like. But now, in a state-mandated program, the aides will be taking over more of the academic workload of the teachers. So the aides must be trained. That's accomplished in workshops like the one being held for Regional 11 at Springtown High School today and tomorrow. 65 aides are taking part in what is called in-service training. I talked with Mrs. Minnie Alice Suo, who's coordinating the workshop.
There has been a need for quite some time for aides being trained, and because of legislation that has come about this past year, it has been necessary to train the aides. Special education, Senate Bill 230, says that we should, and then aides for the classrooms have been necessary. So the Regional Service Center is trying to provide the services and the consultant services to train these aides, instruction to each child.
By implementing the teacher aide program on a mandatory basis, the state hopes to eventually take some of the load off the shoulders of habitually overworked teachers. Jay Lewis, Channel 8 News on the Move in Springtown.
They came out and explained their plans to us. After we requested, they come out and explain.
But why did they tell you?
Why?
Why?
Really, I believe they stated the reason they were elevating the highway was to displace as few people as possible.
In any new organization pattern, there will be difficulties in adjustments, and our purpose is to increase the efficiency of this operation and give constructive help with the development of this system.
There have always been teacher aides. Is this an accelerated program?
Yes, it is. Some of the teacher aides in the past have helped with clerical work in the offices and this type thing. but because it's so necessary for teachers to do instructional work, which is what they've been trained to do, this is the reason that we have been training the aides.
Oh!